I want to touch on a few more things before we let you go. So after all of that, I mean, taking care of your body now, you actually did get labrum surgery, right, on your throwing arm. And then this was actually through COVID. So we did what
Yeah.
we could at the facility. I was even doing some things to help you virtually online. And luckily, because you're so aware again with how you're moving, all of the cues and everything, I mean, you got tremendous results. You started to feel the connection between your lower body and your shoulder, your core, your hip,
Hmm.
and all of that started to tie in together. And it makes a lot more sense, I think, when you start to experience it for yourself, right? Is there anything that you want to share about that experience going through the recovery process through COVID?
Yeah. So I had a couple of surgeries on my right shoulder. I had a Tommy John in that same arm.
That's right.
And so I think the biggest thing for me to understand was the reason why I kept ending back in the surgeon's room was because I wasn't taking what you like. It was because of the way that I was processing the
Mhm.
rehabilitation and like me getting back into workouts. I think this past surgery made me realize, okay, if I really want to get back to what I'm doing, if I really want to be able to live a physical lifestyle, I can't depend on them. Like you guys are gonna give me everything I need to know.
Mhm.
But like me treating it like, okay, I just gotta see them for this many hours a day throughout the week and then okay, that's it. Then I can go back to living whatever lifestyle I had. Understanding that I couldn't do that anymore was just probably the biggest thing.
Mhm.
Because from the beginning, you guys are trying to tell me like you got to get the core in, you got to make sure things are working together. And when I'm going to rehab, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, I got it. Like I'm gonna get it figured out. But like once I actually started buying in, and like it's the simple thing, it's like not like working your way back to doing barbell squats. It's like, can you can you actually do a hip bridge like with your glutes, your glute act like being the majority of the sorry, help me out here. Like
No, being the activation all in your glutes.
yeah, like being able to hold them with the right muscles, being able to hold like simple postural positions. Because I didn't even know how to sit on the butt. Like I'm playing games in the afternoons, getting on a bus, like going, God knows, like sometimes like we had 16-hour bus rides to Montana, and like I just didn't even know how to get myself into a position that's gonna like take the load off. That's why I think it's so amazing for you guys and the course that you guys built
Mhm.
like the second like you guys were like in there like okay you want to do this when you're sitting I was like wow this is exactly what I needed.
And I completely forgot about the Tommy Johns because I think I'm seeing you do all of the things back to normal. But yes, all of these injuries, it was just it was kind of like a check engine light, how I kind of explain it to
Hmm.
athletes too. It's like this is not probably what's causing it, but this is what got injured or this is what got damaged. So you got to repair that, of course, address the actual injury, but then you need to address the movement, what your capabilities are and everything. And it's good for you to hear, I mean, for you to share all of this because for everyone else, no matter what you're doing, whether it's practice your sport or just training, rehab, you need to take all of the information and apply it to everything else moving forward. It's not just a short term section of your life. And I think for you, really understanding that has made this rehab process and just even continuing how you're approaching strength and conditioning, it has made it so much more successful. And you are moving better, doing a lot more things. I'll let you talk about this a little bit more, but I mean, you're even throwing BP to your players, college guys, pro guys, right? So explain how that is going right now, how your shoulder and body's feeling.
Yeah, I guess first off I have to say like before I say anything else like thank you so much for everything that you guys have done Andrew because I was at a point a year ago before my labrum surgery where like I wasn't convinced that I couldn't do that stuff anymore, but I was just so at loss to how I was going to find my way back. I had no idea how it was. I thought like coming back through the rehab process like 3 or 4 times, whatever it was. And like towards the end, it's like I would always like keep a little more. It's like I would be more on top of the arm care and then I'll get more on top of the core stability work.
Mhm.
And that still wasn't doing it. It was but like for you guys hanging in there and like being with me every step of the way, like once my insurance cuts my sessions with you guys, like you guys still taking me in. I can't thank you guys enough for everything you've done. And because I feel amazing. Like again, a year ago, or when in 2018, when I got released from the Rockies, the thing that took me out of spring training that year was I had like this sharp, just barking pain in my ankle. that I woke up one morning and just couldn't get out of the hotel room. And I know like the two of us, we'd been working on my ankle mobility for like a kind of a small portion of time. Because for me, it wasn't like the immediate pain that I was getting. So I just had noticed it was kind of like there was like, not like I was not flexible. There was something in the way, like structurally, I couldn't get the mobility. And it's just, yeah, understanding that everything's connected and I don't totally understand it all yet, but learning how to do a plank the right way and getting my hips more into extension once my lower core muscles started stabilizing by my hips, like my ankle mobility came back. And
Yes.
like I remember that day where like I felt it. Like I got like that extra like quarter inch into extension and my ankle just like instantly is like 5, 10 degrees. I was like, no way, like this is insane. But yeah, like it's just understanding the process. And I think what makes understanding how the body works and like how all the pieces are connected so hard is because like you'll do the exercises for years. Some like in my case it was years. I'm doing the core for years. I'm doing the arm care for years. And it's just, one day, like you do it enough, like you hit it right. And it's like that's the thing that, puts all the pieces together.
Yes. No, that's really good to hear and good to share because everyone's going to experience it a slightly different way, but everyone is going to have this one moment. It doesn't matter if it's throwing a baseball, it doesn't matter if it's doing your plank, doing shoulder exercises. There's this one moment that it clicks. And I do want to share this. This is such a good message that you just talked about because even for me, I mean, this is my professional career and there's so much that I don't know. No professional is going to know everything. I always say that. I always even kind of emphasize that like if in my entire career, I know 1% of what there is out there with strength and conditioning, rehab, nutrition, mental, sports psychology, everything, then I know a ton, and that's just 1% out of all the information out there. And why I want to say this is because for me, this is like maybe almost a decade in since I first started like personal training long time ago, over a decade in already. So, but every day I'm still learning something new, either that I'm doing with my training regimen or how I'm helping someone like you. And that's every day. You're always going to have things that clicked a little bit more. And for me, my full mindset is if I'm treating like the athletes or the injuries the same way that I did even 6 months ago, then it's like I better change something up or figure out how to improve it because then I'm just staying static. So even for baseball, right? Whatever you're practicing, improving, there's always that time that the light bulb goes off and it clicks. And it's like, oh, I needed to experience this so I can actually improve or implement this into my routine. And that's kind of what you're saying is like, you've been doing the planks for years, but just that one time that your hips got in the neutral position, you stabilized and you realize, hey, my ankle, it just loosened up. That restriction cleared up a little bit. Those are the things that I think athletes need to do more of. And I'm talking about even myself too, as a professional and a recreational, athlete, need to do more of focusing on those fine details that help to make those light bulbs go off.
Oh my God, absolutely. Because I can't, like I already said, as of coming through rehab, I was always just like, what can I do to get out of the rehab room and back on the field? And every breakthrough I had wasn't from like, okay, I'm learning this new movement. I'm learning like, like I'm putting an extra weight on, like I'm plateauing in a squat or something. It was like, oh my God, like you give me like a 60-second static lunge hold and like I can feel my hip flexor lengthening. And at the end of that session, it's like I can finally run after a year of not being able to get on my ankle. I can run after that. And
Yes.
it's just like those simple movements that nobody wants to do is where you're always going to find the biggest breakthroughs. But
Yes.
again, they're the hardest to do.
Yes. They definitely are the hardest to do.